Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'll be sharing with you a requested video of how to cut and sew an Edwardine corset or a funnel corset. So if this is something you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. So let's dive right into today's video. So first, here is my pattern, and I've gone ahead to mark out my basic measurements, which includes my shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waistline, and 5 inches extra to get my top length. So I'm going to mark my shoulder divided by 2, and I'll be coming down by 1 inch. From that point, I'll go ahead and I will connect, and I will mark my shoulder slope. From that point, I'm going to find my chest line, which is also my armhole, and I'm going to mark that. To get that is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. After that, I marked back what I have on the shoulder at that line or point, and I'll connect to my shoulder this way. So from that part at the lower part of my chest line, which is the chest line area, I will draw out a straight line. So after I'm done drawing this out, I'll be dividing my armhole into 2, and to do that I'll fold my tape this way, and I'm going to go ahead to mark. So I'll be coming out or coming in by ½ inch and go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4 at this line. And after that, I'll go ahead to place my ruler touching my bust circumference divided by 4, and I will be connecting it to the ½ inch at the armhole and connect it to the upper part of the shoulder this way. So this is what I have after I'm done connecting. And next I will be marking my nipple to nipple divided by 2, or my bust band divided by 2, and I'm going to go ahead to connect and draw a straight line. So I'll go ahead and I'll mark out my basic neckline of 3 by 3 inches, which will serve as a guide for this pattern. I'll go ahead and divide the rest of my shoulder by folding my tape this way, and I'll mark. From that point, I'm going to connect it down to the chest line, and I will mark. So I'll go ahead and mark my dart intake of 1 inch on both sides of my under bust, and also repeat that at the waistline. Take that down to the top length. So if you're a bit busty or you're on the plus size, you're going to be using 1.5 inches on this part. So I'll just go ahead and I'll connect, and from the other part of my pattern I'll be connecting from the bust to the under bust, and I'll also repeat the same process at this part. So after I'm done doing that, I'm just going to go ahead to outline my pattern to make it more visible for you to see. So I'll be making use of a shoulder dart for this pattern, and I'll mark 2 inches, and then that 2 inches that I took out, I'll be extending it. Now I'll go ahead and connect from the shoulder down to that part this way, and I will draw out that line. That is the extension that I use in replacing the dart line. I'll go ahead to mark it. This is to replace the shoulder part that I took out, but I'm not going to work with the shoulder, but I'm just doing this for tutorial sake. So after I'm done connecting, I'm just going to go ahead to use my marker to mark this out so that it's going to be very visible for you to see. So I'll just go ahead and make a mark at this point, and it will indicate that I have a dart at that point. So the next step I'm going to take from here is to go ahead and insert my body measurement, mark my bust circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, and I'll just add ½ inch for sewing allowance. At the under bust, I'll mark my under bust circumference divided by 4, measure these 2 inches dart intake replace, and add ½ inch for my sewing allowance. At the waistline, I'll mark my waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake there, which is 2 inches. I will replace it, and I will add ½ inch for sewing allowance. So after I'm done marking that, I'll head over to the top length, mark my hip circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake replace, and add ½ inch for my sewing allowance. So I'm just going to go ahead and I will connect this all the way to the from the bust to the under bust to the waist and down to the top length. So after I'm done connecting this, I'm going to come up by 2 inches from my blouse length. So from this point I'll come up by 2 inches also, and I'll draw out this curve. So from that point at the other side also I'll mark 2 inches, blend this in, make sure it's meeting at the other side, and I'll go ahead to draw out another curve, and I'll be taking it up again. So from that part I'll just draw another curve, which is the last one, and connect it to that 2 inches I came up from or by. So I'll just go ahead and I will connect this. So this is what I have for the lower part. And now from my bust line, I'm just going to take this all the way up this way and connect to my armhole. After I'm done doing that, I'll mark out the sides of my pattern. So you can use a bust dart for this, but to make my pattern easier, I'm just going to leave it this way. So I'll come in by 1 inch or half from the center, and I'll just draw a design we have at the upper part of the cup, and I will just connect it also to the armhole this way. So this is what I have on this part. So I'll also go ahead and blend it down to the bust point. So this is what I have on this part, and now we want to snatch our waistline. I'll just divide this into 2 and mark. So I'll just mark out a style line first. This is just to create a design on this pattern. So after that I'll be adding a dart intake to snatch our waistline. So I want to snatch out 4 inches for my waist, and my waist is 28. So if I do that, I'll be having 24. So that 4 inches I want to snatch, I'll divide that 4 inches by 4. If I divide it by 4, I'll be having ½ inch at both sides of my pattern. So I'll just go ahead and connect, and also mark ½ inch at the other side, connect it. So by the time I take out half inch on each side, I'll have 1 inch. So that is taking 1 inch out of the right side of my front pattern, and also repeat that on the left side of my front pattern. I'll have 2 inches. So by the time I repeat that also at the back pattern, I'm going to also have 2 inches taken out. So 2 inches plus 2 inches will give me 4 inches. So make sure or take note of your under bust, because you are going to cut out that part for the upper part of this corset. So I'm just going to place another pattern paper underneath it, and I'm just going to use my marker to mark it out and trace out. So I couldn't lay hands on my tracing wheel, so I'll just use my marker and I'm going to trace this out. Now I'll go ahead and fold this up this way, and I'm going to be tracing out the under bust of this pattern. So after I'm done tracing it out, the next step I'm going to take is just to cut out what I have on the upper part that I traced out with my marker. So it might not be visible to you, but I am actually seeing it. So if you also use a tracing wheel, you might not be able to see it. So I'll just go ahead and trace out the shape I have there. So I'm just going to cut this out, and this is what I have after tracing out. So after this, I'll just go ahead and cut out my pattern. Before cutting out, I'm just going to go ahead to label this as C meaning center, S meaning side, and I'll label the other one S1. So at this point, if you find this tutorial very interesting and educative, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button. So I'll just go ahead and extend this all the way up and just cut this out. And if you have any question, please also leave it at the comment section. So this is what I have after I'm done cutting out. So moving over to my back pattern, I've gone ahead to mark out all my basic measurements. So next I will be marking my nipple to nipple divided by 2, and I'll go ahead to mark it all the way to the lower part of my pattern, and I'm going to draw a straight line to connect. So I'll go ahead to mark ½ inch on both sides, and I'm going to connect this to the upper part of my pattern and also connect at this side, take this down also and connect to the lower part of this pattern. So after I'm done doing that, I'll just go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4, and I'll add ½ inch. At the waist, I'll mark my waist circumference divided by 4, add back the dart intake of 1 inch, and also add 1 inch for my sewing allowance. I'll mark my hip circumference divided by 4 and add ½ inch for my sewing allowance. So I'll just go ahead and connect my pattern all the way up and take it down to the top length this way. So after I'm done connecting this, the next step I'm going to take right now is to go ahead to mark out my pattern with my marker, and after that I'll be going up by 2 inches at the top length, and from that point I'll just connect all the way to the lower part, because if you notice at the back pattern it went down a bit. So after that I'll be coming down from my chest line by ½ inch, and I'll go ahead to connect it back to my chest line again. So after I'm done connecting this, the next step you want to take is to go ahead to outline this and also mark out your lacing bar area, and I'll be using 1.5 inches. This is not a standard, it totally depends on what you want to use for the back pattern. So after I'm done marking this, I'm just going to place my ruler and I'm going to draw a straight line connecting, and I'll also make a mark to indicate that I have my lacing bar area at that part. So after this, I will draw a style line on this pattern and I'll be inserting a dart on it, because you also want to snatch your waistline. So just the same way we marked ½ inch on both sides of our pattern at the front, I'll be marking it at the back. So if you mark ½ inch on both sides, you'll be having 1 inch. So by the time you repeat this at the other side of your pattern for the back, you have taken out 2 inches for the back pattern, and if you repeat this for the front, that is, you have taken out 2 inches also for the front pattern, so you have a total of 4 inches. So now my new waistline is 24 inches. So there are several methods of snatching out your waist. I have shared it here on the channel, so you can just go ahead and check my previous videos that are about waist snatching also. So I'll just go ahead and cut out my pattern, and this is what I have after I'm done cutting out my pattern. So if you find this tutorial very interesting and educative, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and also join us on the sewing tutorial.